Fabulous. Okay, so sorry about that, a bit of a false start. There we go. So like I said, thanks so much everybody for joining us today. Really, really lovely to see you all. So today you've joined us for a masterclass in the power of video and communication with Ben Coates, who is the director of Candy Group. So before I talk to you a little bit more about Ben and how we work together and what we do, and before we go into the masterclass, I just want to signpost to our strategic partners and say thank you to their support for everything that we do at Meet Business Women. It's really appreciated. I know a lot of you on the call work for these organisations as well. And I always like to start with a reminder around what else is in as part of your membership. So as you might know, you've got access to a new membership portal that's been upgraded this year. And you've got a supportive community of women and men actually that you can link up with through our new membership directory. You can also access our global mentoring portal as well. And you've also got unlimited access to all of our live monthly masterclasses like the one that you're on to today, but also a library of over 50 hours of learning as well. So if there's masterclasses on there that you've missed, you can go back and watch them on demand. You've also got discounts for our events as well. So please do take a look on that portal. And if you want to book any event tickets, you can grab your discount codes on there. And then a quick nod as to what's coming next in the diary. So we've got another masterclass on the 19th of June, which is all around negotiating and getting a yes with Jodie Goldman. Whoever's in the room who might have also joined us at our conference in London last week will know Jodie Goldman really well. She took our personal development session there and she was brilliant. So highly recommend this masterclass. It'll be a really good one. Jodie's full of energy, really impactful, and she's got some real good key takeaways as well that you can go and sort of do straight away after the call. So really practical. And then I just also wanted to signpost you to our 4 in-person events as well. So we'll be in Stamford on the 11th of July. We'll be in Bradford the week after on the 18th of July. So if you're based around Stamford or Bradford, please do join us for that. We're across in Dublin on the 5th of September and we're in Northern Ireland on the 6th of September. So all the speaker lineups for those are on our website. Go and have a look. And if you're in those areas, please do book yourself on. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and introduce you to Ben and to the Candy team. So Ben is the founder of Candy Group, and you might have seen them, I'm sure you have seen them across our socials because they've done some fantastic work with us. They produced our She Looks Like Me video, which I know a couple of years ago was huge, and we got some really great engagement across that. They've produced our Power of You campaign and Power of Us videos as well. But more than that, we do a lot of strategic work with them as well. So we just thought, gosh, we've got all this amazing knowledge and we're not sharing it with our community. And I think that we need to. So Ben is on the call. He's the founder of Candy Group. And they are a creative agency that specialise in high-end video content across the agriculture and supply chain. They produce technical, promotional and consumer marketing content. So Ben comes from a background in television where he developed formats for UK broadcasters before he moved into corporate production in the ag sector. He led the in-house video team at AHDB prior to launching Candy, and he's also a member of the University of Wolverhampton's Screen School Advisory Board. So Ben, I'll pass across to you. Before I do though, if anybody's got any questions, please do put them in the chat or shout up across the way. I'm sure that Ben will be happy to answer them. We'll make a little bit of time for them at the end of the call. So use the chat function, raise your hand, shout up, and hopefully you enjoy today's masterclass.
Thanks, Bex, for the introduction. I will share my screen with you now. Make sure that I'm sharing sound. And can everyone see that okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Brilliant. Okay, fantastic. So as Bex said, we are today we're going to talk about the power of video and communication. And what I really want you all to think about is kind of not just using video content, but using video content to really effectively get your messages across. And I'm going to share some examples as we go. In terms of what we get out of today. We want the masterclass to help you to connect with people through your approach to content, understand the video landscape and the user journey, because it's changed so much in recent years. You know, people still have this tendency to think about YouTube as a video as a block on YouTube, and that's kind of it. But it's really not anymore. We want to help you to engage with your audiences and create some real impactful messages, and have like very meaningful comms with them. And the important one, I guess, is to influence your audience's behavior. So we'll look at that just to kind of build on what Bex was saying a little bit about us at Candy Group. Just got to find my mouse here. Here we go. So we are we're a creative agency. We launched about 3 years ago. We specialize in all things video, so everything from development through production, animation, live streaming, scripting, strategy. We do the full sort of process. We specialize in the agri and food supply chain, from seed to screen, delivering everything from consumer marketing content through technical, social, and internal comms, live event coverage. And we've spent a lot of time on farming and processing plants, which was, as Bex mentioned, a lot of that started with me being in-house at the AHDB for about 7 years, which was a very insightful time. So we work. We're really proud with some of the brands that we work with now. Include, you know, the last 3 years have been very busy for us. We collaborate with some of these names that you can see on the screen here. And I know a lot of these brands and companies are represented in the Meet Business Women membership as well. And I'm really proud also that this year we started working with the Defender from the Jaguar Land Rover family, and we've got some really exciting projects working with them in the country landscape over the next 12 months. So some really exciting stuff coming up. And as Bex said, I also sit on the University of Wolverhampton's Screen School Advisory Board, which sounds great on LinkedIn, but in reality, it's kind of a free lunch every few months where we talk about how we can bridge the needs of the production industry with the curriculum that's being developed by the university. So that's a little bit about us. As Bex also said, we are now the creative digital partner for Meet Business Women. We've supported Meet Business Women since their inception. I used to freelance as a creative with helping Laura, and then when Candy was launched, that kind of significantly grew. And this year we launched that formal partnership for 2 years, where we've got cemented our status as the creative digital partner, delivering for their global members, partners, and stakeholders. So if you were at the conference last week, you may have stood on the red carpet and did part of this digital activation. We're really excited to get these out. These are scheduled to be out over the next few days. And the whole team, you know, what we like to do is we are creatives first and foremost, and then content producers second. So we like to really kind of get under the skin of the brief and the objectives of the client work. The Candy team, as the Candy team's grown, we've continued to recruit from the world of high-end film and television. So what we're always trying to do is kind of blend high production value with the agri supply chain sector knowledge, and it's working really well so far. And that's everything about us. So we'll move on to now the main part of the session, which is all about the power of video. So when we talk about the power of video and communication, what I really want to get you to think about is the power that video can have in helping to create a response from your audience or your community, and kind of understanding how you can utilize that to full effect. Often we found over the years, when we work with people, they decide they want a video to promote their new product or service or whatever it is. The starting point is often to say that we're going to take some information from our existing sales pack or PowerPoint or website, and we're going to present that in video form because we have video platforms. And often it kind of doesn't extend too far beyond that. They'll have the most senior or appropriate person from a company do a piece to camera sharing the information, but they're starting and staying with information that was designed and packaged for a pamphlet or a press release without really considering the full capability of video. The most impactful videos, certainly that we've worked on and that we've been part of, are those that have that extra step in the early stages of development, which is the ideation. And that is really about, breaking down the messages and the objectives of the video, understanding the audience expectations and journey and the behaviors, and kind of assessing a script or a creative approach that will create an emotional response from the audience to present the message. So what we want to do is we want viewers to feel like through the video that whatever it is that they're learning about is going to kind of improve their lives. Now, it might sound, that whole step might sound screamingly obvious to the marketing and sort of comms experts amongst you, but in a moment, we're going to look into some techniques that we do in that stage to kind of like approach video content from a different angle altogether, because it really is what can separate content and make a difference. And I'm going to show you two examples which I think do that very, very well now. So what I'd like you to think about before we play these two videos, they're both advertising the same product. And remember that both of them started with a marketing or a comms team sitting around a table with the same objective, which is to increase sales, get people to buy their product, and to separate you from your money and into their businesses. So we'll have a little look afterwards at which the techniques used and which was the most impactful. But I'm going to go straight in and play this first video. And if you could just let me know if you can hear the sound, just give me a thumbs up, just to make sure.
Oh, my new windows are absolutely amazing.
They're solid. You feel so safe.
Absolutely knockout prices. They're fabulous.
We didn't have to clean up.
No. Our energy bills have gone right down.
And for peace of mind, you get a 10-year guarantee.
And we got 55% off.
Yeah.
What more do you want?
So who did them then?
You know the one.
Get your free 55% off quote today at safestyle.co.uk or call 0800 106 107 now.
And they did a proper good job, I can tell you that.
Proper good job. So that's video number one. And video number two is the same product from a different company and a completely different approach. This one's a little bit longer. It's about 3 minutes. Well, it's 160 seconds, as you can see there. But hopefully it will sort of show a stark difference in approach.
In 160 seconds, you will decide how this story ends. This is a story about us, the indoor generation. A generation that spends 90% of its life indoors. It all started the day we left nature behind. We filled our homes with lovely things and all the stuff we wanted. Our homes became places you would never want to leave. Artificial light replaced daylight, and we built our houses so that nothing could escape. We cooked and showered, breathed and played, slept and sweated. But we had closed ourselves in to a point where nothing could get out. So when the air turned bad inside, we tried fixing it with chemicals. And we put in little artificial suns everywhere to make the darkness bearable. That's when things started to happen. Hard to notice in the beginning. Some needed help to sleep, to breathe, to not itch. Many of us even started to feel sad. so we turned on happy lamps to make the sadness go away. Then, scientists discovered that the air inside our homes is up to 5 times more polluted than the air outside, and that the lack of daylight can affect children's learning and increase blood pressure. It turns out that kids' rooms often have the highest concentration of toxicants in the house. In fact, millions of homes are unhealthy to live in. They discovered that living in damp and moldy homes increases the risk of asthma by 40%. And I learned that millions of people like me suffer from asthma and allergies caused by a bad indoor environment. And so, here we are. How the story ends is up to you, because it's not written yet. If you care about the indoor generation, do something. Begin to think and live differently. Let light and fresh air into your life again. Even small changes can make a huge difference for coming generations. Learn how at theindoorgeneration.com. In 100.
So how many people opened a window during that last video? Hopefully it shows quite well the sort of point which I've set out there, which is, you know, both marketing teams wanted to sell more product, and they went down completely different creative routes. The first one kind of listed those selling points of the product in a similar way that you might have in a pamphlet or brochure. The other one doesn't even mention the product or the brand. Yeah, it's a much more powerful statement because of that emotional response. And if you think about the viewers and how the marketing teams and the creative agencies that develop those thought about the viewers and the viewers' buying decisions, it's quite evident. The first one kind of presents those selling points in the form of like almost testimonials, like clearly it's actors in lit sets. So the presumption is that they're kind of hoping that the audience is trusting that the script is inspired by real feedback. And, you know, at the end, they stamp on a big, in case you weren't sold yet, here's 55% off. And the second one opens with a challenge, a call to action. It's up to you how this ends. So it's kind of placing that responsibility with you for making, you know, saving children and that kind of thing. It tells a really impactful story of how we've evolved to become these like unhealthy indoor hermits. Plays on health fears. That I think came out in 2017. So COVID followed a few years later, which probably gave some real credence to the campaign. But it presents itself as a kind of a protest movement rather than selling a product. And at the end, the call to action isn't to like phone up for 55% off and take advantage of the deal today. It's to go to their campaign website, which is theindoorgeneration.com. And if you go to theindoorgeneration.com, it reinforces all those messages about the differences that we need to sort of see as people. But it is a sales funnel, surely enough. It's a very effective one. And if you follow the funnel, you know, you soon get to find out that the one way, what can you do? You can buy more windows, preferably from them. And it's just, I think, a really, really strong example of what is at the heart of what I want to sort of share with you. So remember those examples when you're thinking about whatever your next message or product or service is, and think about how you can present it to your audience, not how you see it as an owner of a business. Not, you know, you will have developed the campaign because of like your own KPIs or your own strategic objectives. But think about the audience and what their position is on that service or product, and how that you can sort of tap into that. So in a minute, we're going to go back to that key stage, that development, that ideation stage, and talk about some tactics and techniques to help you think about your brainstorming and your creative approach. But first, I also want to share and look at a little bit about how video is consumed more broadly. As I keep saying, it's not just a brick on YouTube, and how you can utilize it in your campaigns. So if you think about the videos that you might have seen today already, just a bit of a walkthrough exercise. So the first thing you probably saw this morning was your phone alarm going off. Those animated little icons that sort of dance on your screen, the sound design that goes with it, they were all developed, designed, animated, and approved to be the first thing that you see when you wake up. And even what colors and what how much movement is going to be a friendly wake up, that kind of thing. Then you might decide that you've got 5 minutes before you really need to get up, so you kind of look at whichever social platform has got the highest number in the little red bubble. There's a good chance the first thing you then see is a video, either from someone in your network or an ad, brand, company events, some sports, some news, and probably the second, third, and fourth thing as well. 41% of average daily social network time is spent watching video. So that's a big portion. And 81% of consumers in a recent survey by Sprout Social said that they want to see more short form videos from brands. So not only are people saturated with the content, but people want the content in this form. So they're looking for it as they're scrolling. That's what they're stopping on. So after that, you might head downstairs, watch a bit of TV or a bit of Netflix, finish off the show while you eat your breakfast. So there's another video. Call into a shop on the way to work. There's a screen outside telling you, what you need to buy. And often the content of these screens is targeted by time of day. So breakfast deals, lunch deals, evening meals, that kind of thing. If you go into the shop, pick up your milk, there's little videos on the self-checkout tills sort of trying to catch your attention. And if you don't like using self-checkout tills, this other one that came up first here, you go to a normal checkout, and they've now started to put these video boards in. This is obviously on a tobacco stand, but they're everywhere. It's not just conventional video screens now. It's kind of built into the environment a lot more. And I know I'm really laboring the point here, but it is really keen to sort of thinking about your user experience and their journey and how you can sort of tap into them. If you call in to get some fuel, there's another screen. If you stop to get coffee, and it might be, if you're on the road, McDonald's screens, something like that, talking you through the journey. You might spot something that's relevant to like a local community, and you think, there's an event happening, so you scan a QR code, it takes you to a video. And then you've got, your billboards, and of course, once you get to the office, you've got lots of screens with lots of websites, lots of social channels, all full of video, basically. So people are seeing a lot of videos every single day, and not in the conventional way of, here's a video for me, I'm going to click it and watch play and like decide to learn about this thing. Videos everywhere. So what we want to encourage you to think about is how your audience is thinking at each part of that, at each touch point, and how you and your brand and your companies can tap into that to help with your campaign. I think, again, I am going to labor the point on that Velux thing. It's about how do you make sure that your video is the one they're talking about in the evening when they go home. That's the one that stuck out in their mind. You never guess what I learned today. And also, while we're looking at like the breadth of video and where it is, also the functionality, I think, is important to think about as well, because it goes without saying the biggest search engine in the world is Google, and that's where people go to ask questions. And also YouTube is the biggest video platform. TikTok is trying to catch up, but YouTube is still the biggest platform in terms of hours watched daily. It's in the billions. In 2019, Google bought YouTube. So the biggest search engine bought the biggest video platform. And in 2021, YouTube was classed as the second biggest search engine. So people don't just go there to be entertained by videos, they go there to find the answer to questions. So another thing I was told a while back is that when this happened, Google was able to integrate YouTube's data in a way that it wasn't able to previously, in that the text subtitles that are generated, so when an explainer, when subtitles come up, that then becomes a searchable text document. So not only can Google search the entire web of available text, but it can now search the content of videos too. So I'll play this video so you can sort of see this happening. But if you search into Google to say, how do I change my tire? It gives you the step-by-step in the traditional way, but it also now gives you a video, but it also gives you different parts of the video, because it knows people don't want to sit through 8 minutes of video, that if they only need 30 seconds of information. So Google is now presenting sections of video as answers to questions for people. So this is now in everyday life. If you need a how-to, it's in the palm of your hand in minutes, seconds really. And what we need to think about a little bit with that is, with those last couple of slides, is like going back to the power of video. Like, people are going to YouTube to find out the answers to their questions, and the people with content are therefore the people with answers. So if you're in the conversation, you can be part of the solution for people, but if you're not, then you can't. But what it also means on a broader scale is how that can impact opportunities and challenges within the sector. So this point here is really important. Is here. So when developing your content, you want to make it answer a question that your audience is asking. Think about them not looking at a video for entertainment, not looking at like browsing a channel that they like in the hope that, you know, a fish will swim into their net that is relevant to them. That what are they out there asking that you can answer for them, even if it's not a core part of your offering, but you can become a voice of authority on. So going back to what I just mentioned there, like the opportunities within the sector, or the challenges within the sector. And I think an example to illustrate this is with some of the big issues. So we know that agriculture is one of the oldest industries in the world, but it's also at the forefront of a very modern problem, in that the environment is a very, if you'll excuse the pun, very hot topic. But the sector also has a significant role to play in feeding and sustaining a growing worldwide population. So people expect to be fed, but they're doing it. The agriculture is doing that with a crosshair on its back, because the challenge of reducing the impact of climate change often falls at the feet of agriculture, or the hooves of agriculture, because people want to be fed, but they also want to be doing the right thing with the environment. So when consumers, teenagers, children, young adults in particular, when they take an interest in climate change and environment, which is, you know, it's in curriculums now, it's everywhere. Every organization is talking about what they're doing. They're going to YouTube or Instagram or TikTok to find out more. And if the majority of information is coming from people who don't necessarily know the full context or full facts about an answer, what that means is their future opinions are being formed by people who don't have the facts. So if you think of the grain-fed livestock issue, so, you know, broadly speaking, where they don't have the same kind of grasslands that is available in countries like the UK, there's a lot of grain-fed beef, big operations that contribute very differently to global warming, because grassland is quite an efficient way of converting grass into protein. So sometimes those international statistics are incorrectly applied locally, not maliciously, just through a lack of understanding of the nuanced differences between different countries. So that is fed into conversation, and that is what people are hearing and learning, which is why people are often brushing everything tarring everything with the same brush. So again, it's important that, you know, there are voices establishing the facts, and again, going back to that high impact example we watched earlier, like making sure that it's landing very, very well so that it's talked about when people are having the sort of discussions. And the other major thing to remember is that YouTube, tomorrow's generation, are starting their YouTube journey a lot earlier than anyone else before them. So these are where people are going to get their opinions from. So that kind of covers off that sort of broad like understanding of where video is and how it is, what the potential for it is, and the opportunities, and also the pitfalls of kind of missing it. I can see there's in the chat there. Oh, sorry, yeah, I thought I could see 2 questions, but they're comments about questions for the end. So, okay, so on to what we talked a little bit about earlier, which is how can you get to these? How can you get to this alternate way of thinking? When if you've got a really straightforward message or brief, and you think, look, let's just get a video out there. How can you look at alternate ways of getting your message across? So the first thing that we always, when we work with clients, the first thing we always say, they'll say, we need a video to say this. And what we always ask is something I think you should apply to everything. What action do you want your audience to take after engaging with your content? This is really, really key to work back from, because if you're trying to sell something, or you're trying to raise awareness of something, or you're trying to increase membership, they're all different. They're all different actions. So having like one size kind of fits all video is probably not always going to work. This is really key to work back from. And if you can get as a team, if you have a brainstorm as a team, you can get everyone's initial ideas about this onto a whiteboard, slightly different perspectives, different takes on it. You'll probably come up with a few different solutions that will immediately feed into the creative approach. And also, you might even refocus what you thought the answer to this question was once you've sort of bounced it around, and also speak to your audience, speak to your end users about what they really want from your brand or your organization. Try and feed in that end user research as you're kind of defining content for them, because often it can be sort of wildly different, and if that information is there, it's really useful. So here's an example. Here's one way that we sometimes look at coming at things from a different angle. So this is called reverse brainstorming. So what you do with this is, instead of thinking about how to create great content, you start by thinking how to create terrible content, which sounds ridiculous, but is a very, very good way. It's a proven method. This is not something we've developed, it's something we utilize. Because what it does, it helps you to find innovative solutions. Because as an example, if your challenge was to create video content to increase sales of a product, for example, if you pose a reverse question, how can we intentionally reduce sales of this product? Teams will often generate ideas to make the problem worse. They'll pick up on what they perceive to be the real Achilles heel of the product, or they'll come up with that let's sell it to this person, someone who would never use that product or never be interested in that product at first point of thinking. And once you've got all those down, you sort of drill into them and say, flip everyone on its head. Why wouldn't this person buy our product? What aren't we doing that would make this person not want to buy it? What could we do to make this product? What's the solution? If we were to flip this on its head, what's the solution to making this a really good idea? And often you'll end up with a slate of ideas that you would never have arrived at in the conventional way. And it's a really good kind of way of coming up with new taglines or selling points, or like even just like you might come up with ways to sell at someone who you might think, well, they would never be part of our target audience. But understanding that can just give you a new route in. So I think this is a really good exercise to try. And I would say you'd probably be surprised. We've been really surprised on some of the stuff that's come out of doing this when we've done it in different times. It helps to identify and avoid potential pitfalls while sparking creative solutions. It's a really good technique. So excuse me. Right. So we had a question which was submitted from someone in New Zealand, I believe, as part of the advance planning of this. And it was, I'd like to understand how different generations receive information when it comes to marketing and how we can tailor content to reach target markets. And also that I'd like to understand how we tailor content to farmers who are smart, but often have low levels of written literacy. So it's two separate questions. And the first, which I think is about the audience segmentation, we've got a bit of a cheat sheet that we've pulled together here, which I can share at the end, or you can take a screen grab of. But this is, and some of this won't be surprising, but it is useful. It sort of talks about different age groups and the type of channels they're using and what they like when it comes to communication, how they like to be talked to, or how they like to engage with the video. So I think statistically, it's clear that young people want like short form content that's fun and engaging, but often the brands and the companies we work with have like high levels of complex information, and understanding how you can do that effectively can really be a game changer. And I'm going to share an example with you now to answer that question. So how can different generations receive information when it comes to marketing? So I'm going to share an example from the RSPB, which is the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds. And they launched a TikTok channel, and they have a function called Bird of the Week. So it's really just highlighting different species, different unknown facts about the species to raise the profile, of the birds themselves, but also of the work of the organization, the RSPB. So they started doing this fairly irreverent approach, quite a risky approach, I'd say, if you look at it. But people absolutely loved it, and the numbers have just shot through the roof. It's kind of become a bit viral. They've learned facts in a unique way, and they've seen followers go. So I'm going to play this video from a recent Bird of the Week, and you will see when we talk about short form, fast moving content, you will see exactly what we mean here.
Let's go!
So there we go, and it's proved absolutely really popular. It like I say, I think their followers on TikTok increased by something like 100K in like a matter of weeks, and there's been articles written on different platforms about the success of the campaign as well. So I'm almost at the end, but I just want to answer the other question that was other part of the question that was shared, which was about how do we reach farmers? Where are we? Here we go. So I'd like to understand tailoring content to farmers who are smart but often have low levels of written literacy. Now, this is something that's come up with various client discussions over the years, and was often an ongoing part of the conversation when I was at AHCB, because there have been numerous studies done that show there is a higher proportion of farmers with dyslexia or lower levels of written literacy compared to the wider population. And I think one of the best guides that I found was from the University of Reading. They did a report on this, a study, and they found the following. They gave the following 3 pieces of advice. So, video should use appropriate language for the viewer, be concise, film with high quality visuals and sound, and show something to do in practice. So I think appropriate language for the viewer. We talked about digesting complex information. Think about how they would talk about it, not how you might talk about it with your director of science or your research. It has to be digested and broken down for them, and show how to do something in practice. Give them some take-home information that they can apply. Videos and podcasts should seek to recreate some of the hallmarks of trusted in-person advice delivery. So use trusted people as your faces of the video. Maybe some peer-to-peer messaging is a good way of doing that. And consider live forms of comms, and deliver it through monitored comments. So let them ask questions at the point of watching the video. Give them an audience interaction. And finally, farmers tend to prefer information and advice delivered face-to-face by trusted sources such as peers or known advisors. So again, think about who is giving that message to the audience, because I think this report from the University of Reading, it's available. I can share it afterwards, but it goes into a lot of the reasons and the research for why this is an issue and how they came to these solutions. But I think generally it's good advice. I think for us, in my experience, one thing we found, really is bear in mind this, and also what we looked at a minute ago. What age group are you looking at targeting? What platforms are they using? And use images, infographics, videos to convey information. Visual aids could be helpful when it's complex information. Just give it at a glance to make it really, really sort of user friendly. And I think really that kind of covers everything. If there's any questions on any of that, I know it's kind of been a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but I'm hoping that there's been some really useful, insightful bits to take away and take home. Bex, I don't know if there's any questions.
So much, Ben. Liz has just shared something in the chat, actually. Do you mind just sharing what that is, Liz, with the rest of the group? Is that okay? Don't know if you're able to turn your mic on. Oh, sorry, that's the report that Ben mentioned. Thank you. Brilliant. So Liz has just shared that for you.
Thank you, Liz.
Thanks so much. Really, really good. Yeah, if anybody does have any questions, or also if anybody's kind of got, has anybody got any projects at the moment, any sort of video first projects that they're working on that you think, maybe you've got a bit of an issue or a bit of a question that you can pose to Ben. Now's a great time to think about that and ask any questions for any, current projects that you've got on at the moment. Has anybody got any going on? No. One thing I was going to ask Ben, if that was okay. Yeah, Liz, you're right. The reverse brainstorming, I think, is a great idea. I've never heard that either, so I'm definitely going to give that a try. When you talked about earlier about creating content to make it answer a question that your audience is asking, and I think that's a really good insight as well. And I wanted to ask you, where would, aside from what I would first think is, surveys and getting those questions, where would you kind of find that information? Where would you find that from whoever it is that your customer is? Would it be on socials? Would it be, how would you kind of get to those questions? Because I think it's quite easy as a marketer to kind of sit behind the screen and see it from your perspective. But where would you go to see what questions those people that your customers are asking?
So Google Analytics is a great one. You can ask Google what its biggest search terms are in like for different sectors or questions. That information is quite readily available. But also, yeah, I think just monitoring the conversation, or speaking to people across different social channels and platforms. I think, like I mentioned, the end user research earlier. That is really, really underrated. In terms of, like, there was a study, and I'm gonna miss quote this now. So it's probably not the best one, but I remember there was some end user research done by Purcell years ago about their sales of this one product, like, went through the roof, and they were working out, was it the smell of the detergent? Was it the softness of the fabric? They weren't sure what had really landed and hit on, and they went to do some end user research. They went into the homes of a sort of cross section of their customers, and it was the little plastic balls that they'd started putting on top, because they were being used to, like, store coins, and people said, "Oh no, it's great, I can put, like, buttons in there." The people use them for all sorts of things, and they had no idea. It was almost like a sort of trial thing, and that became, those plastic things you used to put in the wash with, like, the detergent in, and that informed, like, their whole sort of strategy afterwards. So I think, yeah, generally find out the questions people are asking. I think generally there's so much information out there now on where, like, we look at reports all the time for when a client comes to us with a brief. We straight away, we want to know that we're getting the information that their audience is looking for. So it's usually there's a lot of information out there, and, like, university reports and studies, a few Google searches, you can kind of find out what's trending.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and it's really interesting, because, like you said, something surprising probably can really play a key part in that strategy, or how you sell it, and that sort of thing. So that's really interesting. Thank you. Unless there's any other questions at all, I'm just going to give a couple of minutes, because just in case anybody wants to shout up or pop in the chat.
Yeah, I've got a question, Rebecca.
Go for it, Bethan.
Hi, Ben. So with all the different, like, aspect ratios, like 9:16, 16:9, should we be producing content which is like a one size fits all, or should you be producing content that is for each channel, if that makes sense? How do you get around that?
Good question, actually. I think a lot of, so what I would say goes back to is, who is your audience, and try and go to where they are. So if it's an audience that are on, if your Instagram channel is much bigger than your Facebook, or that's where you're getting the engagement, then create the content for that platform. I mean, now I don't think there's any platforms that don't take 9:16, don't take reels. I think the social channels are kind of adapting to the whole, if we're going to miss out if some content is produced 16:9 or 1:1. But I think really I would sort of target where your audience are and go for what that platform's best sort of fit is, really. But luckily, fortunately, that they are all kind of adapting. So usually, I remember a few years ago, some of the editing software we use, they came up with this, like, kind of gimmicky thing that would magically turn it would, if you just fed it a 16:9 video, it would find the best bit of the video, but it never did it. It was like kind of AI, and it would miss things. So I think really an extension of this question is, like, and maybe this was part of your question, like, how do you film for that? Because if you say, well, I'll create a 16:9 for this, and I'll create, so we've got, like, guides that we stick over the camera, so we know we can crop out a reel, but we also know we're going to need, like, a traditional video. But yeah, ultimately, like, find out what your audience are engaging with and focus on that scale content.
Brilliant, thank you.
Thanks, Bethan. Is there anybody else that wants to shout up? I know we've got a couple of minutes. No? Oh, good. Well, Ben, unless is there any sort of closing remarks that you want to leave us with, or if there's one sort of key piece of information that you'd want everybody to take away from today before we end and say goodbye, what would it be?
So I would say, don't go with your first idea. Like, don't allow yourself to, when you've come up with a video, don't allow yourself to say, because I think sometimes it can come down from the top. So experts are your marketing people and your like comms people, but often a brief will come from. We do a lot of work with the University of Birmingham, and it's the lecturers who say here's a need for this, but they are the most PowerPoint people in the world. They don't do short form video. They want every detail into everything, and it's a real challenge getting the marketing people to get the really strong video ideas past them, because they say no, we need all this like extra stuff. But just persevere and don't go with the first idea. I think really like have 2 or 3 options for each creative to say which one's going to work best and why, and make yourself justify a little bit.
Yeah, that's sound advice. Thank you so much. If anybody does have any questions that you want to sort of put to bed, I'm sure I'm speaking for you, sorry, I hope you don't mind. I'm sure you're more than happy to kind of take them on email or take them off the call as well. So if you've got any questions, ping them across and we'll send them across to Ben and link you up after the call. We'll share these slides as well, and the recording will be back. It'll be available to watch back on your members portal. So yeah, thank you so much for joining, everybody, and Ben, thanks so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
See you on the next masterclass, everyone. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hear that?
No.
It's our fire alarm test. It's just gone off. Thanks, Bex.